The creature in chains hiding from the light. The prison on planet Juno 9 was cold, silent, and always dark in the lower levels. No one went down there except the machines. The guards called that floor the pit. It was where they kept the thing. No one wanted to see a creature, not a man, not an alien anyone had seen before. It had no name, only a number, Cell 81X, but the staff whispered another name when no one was listening, the vampire alien. It was locked inside a glass cell, with metal chains around its body and red lights pointing down at it 24 hours a day. Red light hurt it less than white light, but even then, it twitched in pain. The creature had thin, pale skin, long black claws, and glowing purple eyes. It never moved much. Just sat and stared at the floor. They said it drank blood. They said it killed its own kind. They said it couldn't speak. But all of that was secondhand stories until the day Ray Carter arrived. Ray was a 32-year-old human engineer. He didn't care about stories. He came to fix things. The prison's life support systems were failing, and the power grid was unstable. A human was called in because the local techs were too scared to go near the pit. Ray didn't ask questions. He just wanted to do his job and get out. He walked through the security gates, scanned his ID, and entered the lower level with his repair tools. The lift made a low humming noise as it took him down. As the doors opened, cold air hit his face. It smelled like metal and old blood. He stepped out. The hallway was long and dark. The lights flickered. Pipes hissed. Doors were sealed on both sides, but one cell at the very end had a glass wall and a dim red glow inside. That was Cell 81X. Ray walked slowly, checking his datapad for broken wires. He passed several empty cells. Then he reached the end, and stopped. The vampire alien was sitting there, motionless, arms chained, eyes closed, but something felt wrong. Ray's hand started shaking, and he didn't know why. Then he heard it, a whisper, ... help me. Ray froze. He looked around. No one else was there. He checked his communicator - silent. Then the whisper came again, this time a little louder. Please. I don't want to hurt anyone. Ray's heart pounded. The voice came from inside the glass cell. The creature's eyes were open now. They were glowing purple, but not angry, not wild. They looked tired, sad. Ray stepped back. Did you talk to me? He asked. The creature didn't move, but its lips parted just enough. Yes. The voice was soft, almost human. But it had a strange echo, like it came from deep inside a cave. I thought you couldn't talk, Ray said, confused. No one ever asked. Ray looked at the datapad again, pretending to work. He didn't want the security cameras to see him talking. Why are you here? He asked quietly. The creature's head tilted up, just a little. Because they are afraid of me. Ray swallowed. Hard, should they be? The creature smiled, just a little. Yes, but not for the reasons they think. Suddenly, loud sirens began to blare through the hallway. Red lights flashed all around. Warning, security breach, main power failure. Ray jumped. He looked at the glass cell. The red lights flickered, then shut off. The creature didn't move. Ray turned and looked down the hallway. He saw lights turning off one by one. The hum of the machine stopped. Then complete silence, except creak. Thump. He heard something. Not from the creature's cell, but somewhere else in the dark. He looked back. The creature was staring straight at him now. Its voice was calm, but serious. You should not be here when the lights go out. Ray whispered, why? The creature looked past him, into the dark hallway. Because I'm not the only one they keep in the dark. Suddenly, one of the locked cell doors down the hall opened on its own with a loud clank. Ray backed away, panic rising in his chest. The creature leaned closer to the glass. I didn't do that. Then what did? Before Ray could move, The emergency red lights came back, just barely, but they were flashing now. And the sound of something moving fast echoed down the hallway. The creature whispered one last thing. "You're the first one who listened to me. Human, don't run. Watch and remember." Ray stood frozen as the shape of something large, invisible, and very fast slid past the cells and into the shadows again, and the vampire alien never looked away from it. The sirens continued to wail through the prison halls of Juno 9. Ray Carter stood still, holding his breath. The emergency lights flashed red, again and again, painting everything like a warning. The air was too quiet, too heavy. Then came the scream, one sharp human scream from upstairs. Then another, short, loud, and then nothing. Ray turned to the vampire alien in the cell. Its eyes were glowing brighter now, fixed on the hallway. "Is this you?" Ray asked, heart pounding. The creature shook its head slowly. "No." "Then what is it?" The vampire looked through the glass, unblinking. "It's something worse." Before Ray could ask more, he heard footsteps, fast, heavy, running toward him from the upper levels. Then he saw them, 2 guards sprinting down the hallway. One of them tripped and hit the wall. The other tried to help him up. Both were covered in sweat and shaking. Ray stepped forward. "What's going on?" The guard with bloody hands shouted, "It's loose. Cell 7X is open. Everyone upstairs is dead, but there's no blood, not one drop." Ray froze. "No blood?" The guard just shook his head, eyes wide with fear. Suddenly, the light above them shattered. Glass rained down. The hallway dimmed even more. Then, blur, something invisible moved past them. A gust of wind, a shadow, a shape without a face. Both guards looked around wildly. Ray stepped back toward Cell 81X. The creature inside the glass stood up for the first time. The chains clinked softly. It looked taller than Ray expected, stronger, more real. The vampire spoke, almost sadly. "It's feeding again." Ray asked, "On what?" "It didn't touch them." The vampire looked down the hallway. "It feeds on fear. It makes you see things. It makes your heart explode from inside." The guards suddenly started screaming, "Get off me!" One yelled, swinging his weapon into empty air. Ray saw nothing. Then the second guard fell to the floor, silent, eyes wide open, not moving. Ray ran to him. No wounds, no cuts, no burns, just dead. The first guard collapsed a second later. "Same way." Ray gasped. "They just died." The vampire nodded slowly. "No blood, no noise, only fear. That is what Cell 7X was made to hold. But now, it's loose." Ray backed up to the glass cell. "Then we have to get out of here." "No," said the vampire. "You have to make a choice." "What choice?" The creature stepped closer to the glass. "Let me out." Ray shook his head. "Are you crazy? Everyone says you're the real danger." The vampire didn't blink. "They say many things. But what do you believe, Ray Carter?" Ray paused. How did it know his name? The creature raised its chained arms. "I can stop it. I can see it. I can touch it. I'm not afraid of it. But I need your help." Ray looked around. The cameras were dead. The guards were gone. The hallway was filling with shadows. He whispered, "Why should I trust you?" The vampire tilted its head. "Because you're still alive." Suddenly, behind them, another cell door creaked open by itself. Ray turned slowly. A shadow moved along the wall. It was long, thin, like smoke but alive. It passed over the 2 dead guards, and their bodies lifted into the air. Ray screamed. "It's here!" the vampire shouted. "Now you see it too." Ray looked back at the glass cell. "I don't have access to open your door." "You don't need access," the vampire said. "You need courage." Ray stared at the control panel. It had a red switch labeled Emergency Override. A voice in his head screamed not to touch it, but another voice, his own, asked, If this thing wanted to kill me, why hasn't it yet? Behind him, the dead guards dropped to the floor like puppets with cut strings. Ray made his decision. He hit the override switch. Alarms screamed louder. The glass wall hissed. The locks clicked. The vampire stepped out, free for the first time in years. Its body stretched tall, its claws curled. But it didn't attack. Instead, it looked straight at the shadow now forming at the end of the hallway. "There you are," it whispered. The shadow seemed to hesitate. Then it darted forward fast. The vampire raised its hand and slashed the air. A loud scream echoed through the corridor. This time, not a human one. The shadow twisted, flailed, then vanished into the darkness. Ray stood frozen. The vampire turned. To him, eyes dimmer now. Not glowing, just tired. "You see now?" it asked. Ray nodded slowly. "Yes." The creature walked past him, slow and silent. "Good," it said. "Because this is only the beginning." The power in Juno 9 prison flickered like a dying flame. Smoke curled through the corridors. Alarms still blared in the distance, but no one answered them anymore. Ray Carter walked slowly behind the creature he had just released. The vampire alien. Every part of Ray's mind screamed he had made a mistake. But his heart told a different story. The creature wasn't killing him. In fact, it walked calmly. No hunger, no madness. Its steps were slow, almost careful, like it didn't want to scare him. Ray tried to speak. "You didn't hurt me. Or the guards who just..." The vampire stopped. "Defended you." Ray blinked. "But you're the vampire, the killer." "That's what everyone said." The creature looked over its shoulder, its eyes no longer glowing. "Then maybe everyone was wrong." Suddenly, a loud metal bang echoed from the other hallway. Pipes groaned. Walls trembled. Ray raised his flashlight, but the beam only reached a few meters. The vampire turned its head. "It's back." "The Fear Eater?" Ray asked. "Yes," the creature said. "And now it knows I'm free." Ray followed as the vampire led him down a corridor. Burn marks lined the walls. Cells stood open, but empty. No bodies. No blood. It was like the prisoners had just vanished. As they walked, Ray asked, "How did you see it when no one else could?" The vampire paused at a corner. "Because it fears me." "You?" "I don't feel fear the way others do. That's why it couldn't feed on me. That's why they locked me away. They thought I was the danger. But I was the only one who could survive it." Ray took a deep breath. "Then, how do we stop it?" The creature looked him in the eye. "You don't, I do," Ray frowned. "Then, why do you need me?" The vampire lowered its voice. "Because something is changing. I'm weakening. My hunger. It's coming back." Ray felt his chest tighten. "You mean for blood?" The vampire nodded slowly. "No food, no light, no warmth, years of darkness. I can't hold it much longer." Ray stepped back. "Then why haven't you taken me yet?" The creature's eyes softened. "Because you touched me." Ray froze. "What?" "In the cell," the vampire said quietly. "You listened. You stepped close. You looked at me like I was something real." Ray remembered. That moment, the whisper, the silence. He had been scared, yes, but something in him had wanted to believe. "You were the first," the vampire said, "and your touch gave me something I haven't felt in years." Ray stared. "What did it give you?" The vampire's voice was soft. "Hope." Suddenly, a deep growl filled the corridor. Lights above burst. Pop, pop, pop. Ray spun around. "It's here." The vampire growled back louder. Its skin shimmered. Its claws stretched. Then a new form appeared at the end of the hall. Not smoke. Not shadow, but a half-formed body. A creature made of bone and fear. Its eyes were empty holes. Its mouth stretched wide, full of teeth. Ray couldn't breathe. His legs shook. The Fear Eater stepped forward. And everything around them began to fade, the walls, the light, even the floor beneath their feet. Ray fell to his knees. The vampire roared. "Don't let it take your mind," Ray screamed. "I can't stop it." Suddenly, the vampire turned and dropped to one knee beside him. Its cold hand touched Ray's arm. "Let me in." Ray looked up. "What?" "If you let me feed. Just a little, I can fight it." Ray backed away. "No." The vampire lowered its voice. "I won't take your life. Just your warmth. Just enough to stop this thing." Behind them, the fear eater opened its mouth wide, an endless scream beginning to rise. Ray had no time. He looked at the creature before him, chained for years, blamed for crimes it hadn't done, asking for a single act of trust. Ray reached out and placed his hand over the vampire's. For one moment, the world froze. Then light. A glowing white light poured from Ray's hand into the vampire's body. The creature gasped, not in pain, but in awe. Its body filled with energy. Its back straightened, its skin brightened. Its eyes glowed like stars. It stood, turned, and faced the fear eater. "I remember now," the vampire whispered. Then it leapt forward. The fear eater roared. The two collided mid-air in a flash of sparks and shadow. Ray fell to the ground, heart pounding. He saw the two creatures fight, claws tearing, light bursting, shadows screaming. Then silence. The hallway filled with smoke. Ray crawled forward, coughing. He saw the vampire, standing over a puddle of dark ash. It had won, but its body was shaking. Weak again. Ray stood slowly. "You okay?" The vampire looked at him. "For now, but that was only one." "There are more," Ray blinked. "More?" The creature nodded. "And they're coming." Smoke filled the air. The hallway walls of Juno 9 prison were cracked. Sparks fell from broken wires. Somewhere in the distance, a pipe hissed steam. Ray Carter stood in silence, looking at the creature in front of him, the vampire alien, once feared by all. Its claws were bloody, its body shaking, but it had saved him again. The fear eater was gone. At least this one. Ray stepped forward carefully. "You said there are more?" The vampire nodded slowly. "That one was just a scout. The real danger hasn't arrived yet." Ray looked around. The place was ruined. "Then we're not safe here." "No," the vampire said. "And neither is anyone else." Before Ray could reply, a loud voice echoed through the prison speakers. "All survivors, report to upper deck. Emergency evacuation in progress." Ray's heart jumped. "There are survivors?" "Some," the vampire said, "but not all are innocent." Ray turned to the creature. "What do you mean?" The vampire looked at him, serious now. "There's one prisoner who was not afraid of the fear eater. He talked to it, helped it, opened its cage." Ray's blood ran cold. Why would anyone do that? The vampire's eyes darkened. "Because monsters often wear friendly faces." Suddenly, the floor above them rumbled. Something heavy moved. A scream echoed. Then silence. Ray and the vampire ran toward the lift. When they reached it, the power flickered again. "No time," said the vampire. "We climb." They opened a side hatch and began to move up the maintenance ladder one level at a time. Ray's hands were shaking. "I'm not a soldier," he muttered. Double quotes. "No," the vampire said from below him. "But you have something better." Ray looked down. "What?" The vampire's glowing eyes met his, kindness and courage. "That's why it couldn't break." "You." They reached the top level deck. One. It was supposed to be the safest part of the prison, but the walls were covered in strange black marks now. Like fingers made of smoke had dragged across everything. Ray and the vampire stepped into the hallway. Bodies. 4 guards dead. No blood. Eyes wide open. Fear still frozen on their faces. And one prisoner. Still alive. A tall, thin alien with gray skin and long hair. He was humming, calm, Sitting on the floor beside the bodies. Ray raised his hand. "Hey, you okay?" The alien looked up, smiled, and said, "Hello, Ray. I was waiting for you." Ray stopped. The vampire stepped forward, growling, "Aiden Voss." Ray turned. "You know him?" "Yes," the vampire said coldly. "He was my cell neighbor. He told me stories. He made me believe he was my friend." Aiden Voss stood up slowly. "I was your friend," he said, still smiling. "But I saw a better way." Ray stepped between them. "You helped the Fear Eater escape?" Aiden's smile grew wider. "I invited it. I worship it. It promised power. If I helped open the doors." Ray's voice shook. "You killed them," Aiden shrugged. "No, they killed themselves with their fear. I just watched." The vampire's claws extended. "Where is it now?" Aiden raised a hand and pointed upward. "It's coming, a bigger one. The real one. The queen." Ray looked at the vampire. "A queen?" The creature nodded. "The one who controls the Fear Eaters. If she lands here, the whole galaxy will feel her hunger." Ray turned to Aiden. "You're insane," Aiden laughed. "Maybe, but I won't die. I'll become one of them. I've already begun." Ray looked closer and saw something terrifying. Aiden's shadow was moving on its own. It twitched. It pulsed. It reached out toward Ray's feet. The vampire shoved Ray aside and slashed the floor with his claws. The shadow screamed. Aiden fell back, coughing black smoke. "I tried to offer you peace," the vampire said. "But now, I give you silence." He raised his hand, but Ray grabbed his wrist. "Wait. Don't kill him yet. We need to know where the queen will land." The vampire stared at him. Ray looked into his glowing eyes. "Please," he whispered. "You showed me mercy. Show it again." The vampire's claws lowered. Aiden lay there, breathing hard. "She land where light is weakest," he gasped. "She feeds in the dark. She's drawn to fear, and to you." He pointed at the vampire. "She knows you're awake now." Suddenly, the lights went out, complete darkness. Then a voice, not from Aiden but from all around them. A whisper, deep and terrible. "I see you, child of hunger." Ray backed against the wall. The vampire's eyes glowed again. "She's here." Darkness swallowed the hallway of Juno 9. Lights died. Walls disappeared. Even sound felt like it had been taken away. Ray Carter stood still. He could hear only his heartbeat. And the soft whisper of something ancient and cold. "I see you, child of hunger." The queen of the Fear Eaters had arrived. The vampire alien stood in front of Ray, his back straight, claws ready. His body was weak, but his eyes burned like fire. "She's close," he said. Ray looked around. "Where is she?" "Everywhere," the vampire whispered. "She is the dark between walls, the cold in your breath. She doesn't walk. She spreads." Aiden Voss, the traitor prisoner, lay on the floor behind them. He was smiling, even as smoke leaked from his mouth and shadow swirled around his fingers. "You can't stop her," Aiden said, voice dry like dust. "She's already inside you." The vampire turned sharply. Double quotes, "No, she's only inside you." Then a sharp screech rang out, a sound like glass breaking inside Ray's skull. He screamed and fell to his knees. Blood trickled from his nose. The vampire grabbed him and pulled him close. "She's trying to break your mind. Fight it." I can't," Ray gasped. "She's in my head." The vampire's claws touched Ray's chest, just above his heart. "There's light in you," he said softly. "Let me use it." Ray looked up, eyes full of fear. "Will it kill me?" The vampire looked sad. "If I take too much, yes." Ray shook his head. "Then no," but the hallway around them bent. The floor cracked. A black liquid-like mist poured from the walls. A face formed in the darkness, huge, fanged, with eyes like deep wells. The queen's voice whispered from every corner, "Feed me, or die screaming." Ray made a choice. Do it, he said. Take what you need. The vampire hesitated. Are you sure? Ray closed his eyes. You've saved me twice. This time I save you. The vampire gently placed his palm on Ray's chest and began to feed. But it wasn't blood he drank, that it was sunlight, that warmth. Memory, love, everything Ray had ever held in his heart. It flowed into the vampire like golden fire. His body changed. His skin glowed. His back arched as power returned to his bones. His eyes burned like suns. Chains that still hung from his wrists melted away. He rose tall, strong, and for the first time, beautiful in a terrifying way, the queen's face hissed in anger. You dare bring light into my shadow? The vampire spoke in a voice louder than thunder. I was born from the dark, but I was raised by the light of someone who touched me. He turned to Ray, who lay weak on the floor, but breathing. You gave me your life, the vampire said. Now I give mine to protect it. The queen's shadow lunged forward. The vampire jumped to meet her. They clashed like fire and oil, one glowing, one rotting. The air itself cracked. The floor split. The prison shook. Ray watched with blurry eyes. He saw the queen wrap her black arms around the vampire. Saw her mouth open, ready to swallow him whole. But the vampire smiled and opened his arms wide. Boom! A shockwave of light exploded from his body. It blasted through the hallway. The queen's scream filled the air as her form melted into dust, ripped apart by the brightness. The walls shook. The ceiling cracked. Ray tried to move, but his body didn't listen. Don't die, he whispered. Please. The light faded. The smoke cleared. And in the middle of the hallway, the vampire stood. Barely. His skin cracked. His chest glowing dim. He turned to Ray. I didn't take it all, he said, falling to his knees. I took just enough. Ray crawled over, using the last of his strength. Are you okay? He asked. The vampire smiled, weak but alive. You gave me sunlight, and I gave it back. Ray placed his hand on the creature's arm. It was warm. No longer cold. Are the fear eaters gone? Ray asked. The vampire shook his head. The queen is dead, but others are hiding. Scattered. We have time, but not peace. Ray nodded. Then we fight. Together. The vampire looked surprised. You'd stand beside me, even now? Ray gave a small smile. No one else would touch you. But I did, and I'll do it again. The vampire looked up. And for the first time in his life, he cried. Asterisk smoke still floated through the broken halls of Juno-9. The lights were dead. The walls were cracked. And the air smelled like ash. Ray Carter moved slowly, helping the vampire alien walk through the wreckage. Both of them were hurt, tired, bleeding, but alive. Behind them, the ashes of the fear-eater queen still glowed faintly on the floor, fading into the dark. We did it, Ray whispered. No, the vampire said softly. We survived it. That's different. They walked past dead guards and empty cells. No sounds, no voices. Just silence. But then a noise. Click. Ray stopped. He knew that sound. Boots. Walking on metal. Not fast. Not running. Calm. The vampire froze. I know that walk. Ray turned the corner slowly and saw him. Aiden Voss. Still alive. Standing in the middle of a clean, untouched hallway. No blood, no bodies. Lights above him still working. He was smiling. You made it, Aiden said cheerfully. Ray blinked. How are you alive? Aiden shrugged. I hid. I knew where the queen would go. I stayed out of her way. The vampire stepped forward, eyes narrowed. No, that's not the reason. Aiden tilted his head. You always were the clever one. Ray's stomach turned. What's going on? The vampire spoke slowly. Aiden didn't hide from the queen. He welcomed her, let her in, and then let her leave. Aiden clapped softly. Bravo, you've figured it out. Ray stared. But we saw her die. She melted in your light. The vampire stepped in front of Ray, claws half extended. She left. A piece of herself. Aiden's body twitched. His shadow twisted on the floor. Ray stepped back. She's inside you. Aiden smiled wider. She needed a host. I was willing. I gave her everything. And now, I'm the last one. Ray felt the fear rising in his chest. Why didn't she kill you? Aiden looked at him kindly. Because I don't feel fear. Not like you, not like anyone. I admire her. I serve her. Ray's voice shook. You're not a prisoner anymore. Aiden chuckled. No, I'm the warden now. Suddenly, the hallway behind them slammed shut. Metal doors sealed. Lights flickered red. Trapped. Aiden raised his hand, and the lights bent. Reality twisted. Ray saw the walls stretch, the ceiling grow taller. It was like falling into a dream, but one you couldn't wake from. The vampire grabbed Ray's shoulder. Don't. Listen to him. Don't look at the walls. Stay here. Stay real. But Ray could already feel the fear inside him pulling at his mind. I can't. Stop it. Aiden stepped forward slowly. I'm not going to kill you, Ray. She wants you to. Feel. She feeds best when the fear is fresh, slow, deep. The vampire shouted, Enoug. He charged. Aiden didn't flinch. Instead, his body split in half, but not with blood. His chest opened like a curtain of black smoke, revealing glowing tendrils inside. They lashed out. The vampire was thrown back, crashing into the wall. Ray screamed, No! He ran to the vampire, who was barely breathing now. Real blood dripped from his mouth. Ray held him. Stay with me, please. The vampire opened one glowing eye. You have sunlight in your blood. Ray nodded, crying. Then take more. Take it all if you have to. The vampire shook his head weakly. No, I won't take your life. Not for him. Ray stood. He turned to Aiden, heart pounding. You want fear? He shouted. Take this. I'm not afraid of you. Aiden raised a black tendril. You lie. Ray took a step forward. No, you lie. You think being empty makes you strong, but it just makes you hollow. Aiden's smile broke for a second, just 1 second, and that was all the vampire needed. With one final burst of strength, he leapt forward and sank his claws into Aiden's chest. A scream tore through the hall. Not. Aiden's voice. Hers. The queen inside. Ray ran forward. Aiden's body began to tear apart. Shadows exploded from him like fire. The vampire shouted, She's escaping. She find another host. Ray looked around. No one else was there. If she escapes now, she reached the stars. The vampire pulled Aiden's body close. Then there's only one way. Ray grabbed his arm. Don't, please. The vampire looked at him, eyes full of sorrow. I told you once, no one ever touched me before. He smiled. But you did. And then he held Aiden tight and used the last of Ray's sunlight inside him to ignite his own body. A white explosion filled the hallway. Ray was thrown back. Then, silence. He woke up sometime later. The walls were burned. Aiden was gone, and the vampire gone too. Ray stood, alone now, but not afraid. It had been 3 weeks since the blast that destroyed the top floor of Juno-9. 3 weeks since the vampire alien feared by the galaxy, hated by his captors, chose to give his life. To stop the queen. To save a human. Ray Carter now walked alone through the ruins of what was once the most secure prison in this part of space. The walls were still blackened from fire. The cells were silent. No more screaming. No more shadows. The darkness was finally gone. But Ray's heart still carried weight. He stood at the spot where the vampire and Aiden had vanished. All that remained was a mark on the floor shaped like a circle of light. Ray kneeled beside it and placed something gently in the center. A Chain. It was all that was left of the creature everyone had called a monster. But to Ray, he had another name. Friend. Elsewhere, across the galaxy, a transport ship hovered just above a small forest planet. Children played in the fields. Villagers walked peacefully. And one child, a young alien girl with silver skin, stood near the river. Holding a glass ball, she gasped. A shadow passed above her. She looked up and saw a tall figure standing on the hilltop. Not walking, just standing, watching. He wore a black coat. His skin was pale. His eyes glowed faintly, not bright like before, but gentle. Controlled. She called out, "Hello?" The figure nodded once, then turned and walked into the trees. She blinked and he was gone. But in the grass where he had stood, something shimmered, a burning handprint. Back on Earth, weeks later, Ray Carter sat before the Galactic Council, facing cameras, judges, and generals. All wanted answers. One asked, "Did you really free the vampire?" Ray nodded. "Yes." Another frowned. "And you claim he saved the station, not destroyed it?" Ray didn't blink. "That's right. He gave his life to stop something none of us understood." A woman in a red uniform stood. "But that creature fed on humans, lived in darkness. We've lost too many lives. How do we explain that?" Ray looked up. His voice calm, strong. "You don't explain him. You remember him." After the hearing, Ray walked outside into the sunlight. It was warm, bright, but he felt cold inside. He walked to the memorial being built near the edge of the spaceport. A statue was already placed at the center. A man-shaped figure, tall, claws at his side, head raised to the sky. Some called it the monster of Juno 9, but the plaque beneath it had a different name. The one who chose the light. Ray stood there quietly, until a voice behind him said, "He didn't die." Ray turned fast. A woman in a cloak stood behind him. Her eyes glowed faintly, her skin pale, like it hadn't seen the sun in years. Ray whispered, "What did you say?" "He didn't die," she said again. "He changed. He burned away the dark parts, but the rest of him still walks." Ray stepped closer. "How do you know?" The woman pulled something from her cloak, a small metal object, a silver ring, the same kind Ray had given the vampire when they were escaping the Queen. Ray's hands trembled. She placed it in his palm. "He said to tell you this," she whispered. "Your touch gave me light. Your belief gave me shape. Your courage gave me a soul." Ray closed his hand around the ring. "Where is he?" he asked, voice breaking. The woman smiled softly. "Everywhere the darkness fears to go." That night, Ray sat alone beneath the stars. He looked up and whispered, "You were never a monster. You were a mirror. And maybe the real monsters were the ones who never saw the truth." He pulled out a notebook and began to write. The first sentence read, "No one would touch the vampire alien, but the human did the unthinkable.